Welcome and thank you for joining us today for Prepare for Vocational Program session. My name is AJ Modi. I work at Learn Quebec with Provincial Resource Team. The goal of this session is to understand what to expect in vocational training program, learn how vocational training differs from high school, and gain practical tips and confidence for successful transition. After this session, we will send out an email with resources and link to all the registered parents for the future use. We have four speakers with us today. One is in a current vocational program student, another is a recent graduate, and two professional who in their current roles supports and guide students as they adjust to their life in vocational program. Together, they will share insights, advice, and practical strategies to help students and families better understand vocational pathways and succeed. We will be together today for 1 hour, and we will not be able to have a student ask live question. Even better, instead, we have created a list of the questions for our speakers to answer, including some of the questions we received during the Zoom registration process. So we will start with introduction of our panelist. Hi, Charles. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Charles. I'm a current carpentry student at CVCC. I'm 10 months into the program. With my diploma, I want to continue enhancing my skills, eventually starting my own business. I also act as a student ambassador for the school, visiting other high schools and promoting the program.
Cool. Thanks, Charles. Yeah, lots of open opportunity after vocational. So next panelist is Teresa. Could you please introduce yourself, Teresa?
Yep. Hi, I'm Teresa McAllister. I am an alumni graduate from Nova. I used to do hair, I did hairdressing before, and then I did the secretarial studies course, and now I am the frontline communicator at the New Frontiers board office.
Cool. Thanks, Teresa. Brooke, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name is Brooke Wilson. I'm a project development officer with the New Frontiers School Board Continuing Education. I've been with the school board for about 10 years, and I get to work alongside the academic and vocational counselors. And one of my dossiers is also transition. So I go into the high schools quite often, and I help with the transitions to adult education and vocational training.
Cool. Thank you, Brooke. Next panelist is Jane. Jane, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Jane Fairhurst. I'm an academic and vocational counselor in Ormstown at CVCC, one of our adult education centers of the NFSB. And I also in the past worked in a similar type of role at Concordia University and Co-op. So I'll be able to dive into both of those sides to help out, hopefully be able to answer some questions for you tonight.
Super. Thank you, Jane. So we will start with Jane. I have a first question for you, Jane. Why should students choose vocational program? Thank you.
That's a big question, right, AJ?
Yes.
So I go and I speak to high school students quite a bit. And the very first question that I actually ask them is, what does success look like to them? Because this is all about becoming successful. So we usually have a good back and forth about what that looks like. And ultimately, it's the ability to make money, but be happy, to wake up every day and want to go to work and have those little challenges every day that you enjoy, good workmates, but it's that the money is at the end of the day also. So when we're talking about like why somebody should consider choosing vocational programs, that's a really big part of it. Like we keep hearing that it's equal opportunities now. And having worked at the university level and now having been in trades, I can honestly say like this is my soapbox speech now. It's equal opportunities. So students who are graduating with an undergraduate degree, we know now are not guaranteed employment like it used to be years ago. Whereas students graduating with trades, they have their choice. They have opportunities every angle they look at now. And so that's a big part of it, really considering what does success look like for you. Of course, you can be successful going towards higher education as well, but it's not that guarantee that it used to be. The other angle is to kind of consider the finances of it. So going to a trade, both trades and CEGEP in Quebec, they're free. The government covers the tuition fees. Now they have some services and some charges, some student fees, but that helps to cover their supplies and everything else. So in the trade schools, it can look like anything from $300 to about $1,000. For the $1,000 is more at the electrical plumbing kind of end, but that's it for the entire program. And CEGEP, they have about $500 a semester or so for the extra fees, like the student fees, plus books and that. And then if you go on to university, then that's about $4,000 or so a year. So if you really want to look at the time and the expenses, that vocational starts to look interesting again. So there's that money aspect. And then there's the time commitment also. So the trades between 8 to 18 months, well, you can come out with a full DEP. CEGEP, it's 2 years for pre-university, 3 years for the technical programs. And then university for a bachelor's degree is a minimum 3 years. So you really have to look at how much time and how much money you have to invest in all of that. So can you show us, AJ, the Admission FP website?
Sure.
So this is a one-stop for you guys. You can really quickly Google, take a look at whatever kind of programs you might be interested in the recherche, and of course you can do it in English. It's completely in Anglophone too, which is always nice. You could search something like woodworking, and it's going to give you all the possibilities that you have in that area. And then you just keep looking from there. And it's going to tell you what kind of job possibilities there are, the starting salaries, and you can really just keep diving in and keep looking around. So I hope that helps out with that question, AJ.
Thank you, Jane. That's perfect. And I agree with you. Loving what you do and every day waking up and going to work, and sometimes if you get paid and say, hey, am I supposed to get paid for it? That's much how much you love work. And that's super important to be happy and successful. Thank you. The second question I have is for Brooke is, what resource can help students prepare before starting their vocational program?
Yeah, so great question. I have a few I want to touch upon quickly, but these resources can really be used by someone who already knows their transition pathway and might have a program already in mind, but they can also be used by somebody who has no idea about vocational training, doesn't necessarily know if they're interested in it or if they've applied for it or anything. So they can be used as exploratory options too. And my first and foremost would be a student for a day or a center visit. So AJ, you can actually show, this would be the New Frontiers website, but I'm sure most school boards and all centers have this possibility, whether it's calling up and inquiring or if it's through their website like us. But basically, you can go on, you can request a student for a day. You either say if you're interested in a specific program or if you simply just want a center visit. And from there, it goes straight to the counselors. They contact you and you get to go actually be a student for a day. So again, if you're going to carpentry, someone's going to greet you. You're going to go into the shops. You're going to also see the classrooms. You're going to get to meet the teachers. You're going to get to see what some of your fellow peers might be like in different cohorts. And also just for the center, visiting the center, is this a place that you want to spend 8 months, up to 12, 18 months? You really get a feel for the environment. So unlike CEGEPs, who usually have an open house period or season, vocational training centers don't necessarily have that because we have ongoing programs all the time. But please do not be shy. Definitely reach out to your local center or a center that has a program you're interested in and apply for that student for a day or that center visit. It's going to give you the best taste of reality. The second one would be also to use Info Route, which AJ has on the screen here, or Admission FP, the one that Jane had just shown us previously. Both of these places are a one-stop stop. Again, you can search anything. You can search by program, you can search by school board or organization, you can search by industry, and it just has layer after layer after layer. So you can find out the length of study, you can look at the program descriptions, you can look at the job opportunities, even where the center is located, right? Is it somewhere in your community? Are you going to have to travel far for this training? So all that information is there. So maybe just take the time, with your child or with your parent and just play with it a little bit. Type in some trainings, type in some job possibilities and see what information pops up. And last but not least, and the most important would be to speak to somebody in that trade, somebody who is currently working in that job. So, ask them about their path, how they got started, if they like the industry. Real life insight can really make a big difference when you're trying to choose which vocational program you might be interested in. And yeah, so that's what I would say. Student for a day or visit a center. Don't be shy to call up your local vocational training center. Info Route or Admission FP. These are a wealth of information. And then talk to somebody who work in that field. And I assure you, everybody knows somebody who's a tradesperson. So.
Thank you, Brooke. Yeah, those websites are very detailed and you can get all kind of information. If you spend about half an hour, you will have all the good information you needed. And we will send you all the links when the workshop is finished. Thank you, Brooke. The third question I have it is for Charles. What do you wish someone had told you in high school for?
Yeah, so while high school is a very general learning experience, kind of touching down on all sorts of different subjects, vocational studies is very specific to the trade. You go in depth, just on that trade. One thing I wish someone told me is that there are different pathways. You don't necessarily need to finish high school. Some people they just have a lot of trouble in high school. I was one of those people. So one of the pathways would be a GDT exam. You don't necessarily need to go to adult ed and get the necessary classes in order to go into a vocational study. You can take a GDT exam and jump into it through there.
Cool. Thanks, Charles. The next question I have it for Brooke is, what are the key difference between high school and vocational training that students should be aware of?
Yeah, so I guess I'll just maybe elaborate a bit on what Charles had said. So there's three main differences that I would like to highlight. So there's the what you learn, the how you learn, and the timeline. So like Charles had kind of said, the what you learn. So in high school, learning can be very general, right? You're taking a bunch of subjects because you're being introduced to a possible bunch of different transition pathways, right? That's the goal of high school. That also means you might be stuck in some classes that you're not super interested in, and you don't necessarily want to pursue in the future. When vocational training, when you apply to a vocational program, it's very specific. So you're focused on that one trade, that one industry, and you learn the exact skills you need for that job. Everything from A to Z. Doesn't mean you're going to like everything you cover necessarily in that program, but it's still very specific. It's specific to that program. And the goal is to prepare you directly for the workforce. So again, in high school, it's to prepare you for possible different transitions. The programs are to prepare you directly for the workforce. And then there's also the how you learn. So in high school, you might be sitting in classrooms a lot, lessons, you use textbooks, complete assignments, maybe with some teams, some hands-on learning. Vocational training, while there's still theory and you are sitting in classrooms for a bit, it's much more hands-on. It's much more practical. You go into the labs, you go into the shops, or you go on to stages or to these real work-life experiences. You actually get to use the same tools and equipment that you're going to be using on the job force. So that's the difference in the how you're learning. And then the timeline, right? So you're in high school for about 5 years. And if you're pursuing CEGEP, that's 2 to 3 years, depending on your choice, and then possibly university afterwards. Vocational trainings, like we said, short, much more focused, much more intense, last anywhere between 8 and 18 months. And they move very quickly and are competency based. So, once you complete something, a unit, you're writing an exam. Then you move on to the next unit and you're writing an exam. And it could be very, very fast. So yeah, I would say those are the three main differences. The what you learn, very specific. The how you learn, more practical, workforce oriented, and the timeline.
Cool. No, that's true. Brooke, I'm the same. This is how I learn better. If I put into the real life situation, like hands-on learning in a stage or labs, that's how I learn better. So for me, I love those kind of environment. Thank you. The next question I have it for Charlie and maybe Teresa can add on to it is, what's one misconception you had about vocational education before starting, and what surprised you the most once you were in that program?
So for me in carpentry, the misconception would be that it is more than just woodworking. You touch down on all sectors, residential, commercial, industrial, and it's more than just building homes, condos, and businesses. I was surprised at how in-depth the training is. It's broken down over 19 competencies, all of which are very specific skills, and you learn the foundation of the trade from A to Z.
Cool. Teresa, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is taking a course because you think it'd be fun or easy, and realizing you need to put in a lot of effort because it's such a fast-paced environment, and you know, missing 1 or 2 days could put you back because it's just go, go, go. And I think it's a little bit harder to catch up, and you have to just know what you're doing. Like you have to be on top of it. It's too fast to slack. It's a big
Yep.
misconception. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting that you're learning hands-on and activities like that, and you're learning so many, as Charles said, like 19 different competencies in such a short time.
Mhm.
And in some ways, it's not a classroom teaching. You're learning by doing and real life experience. It kind of makes it fun. And once
Yeah.
your goal is achieved, you're ready to go to the work, kind of the work that you really want to do. So it makes it so many, like you can see what your success look like as soon as you enter the program. I can be like that, or I can be like that. So that's super cool. Yeah.
Like for sure, I can say when I did hairdressing, I know a lot of people joined it because it's fun to do hair, but then there's a huge portion of science and math that comes into it.
Wow.
People don't expect that.
Is
And
that
you're
right?
dealing with chemicals. So that's where I think there's that misconception that you're going to be doing hair and having fun all the time. But
Yeah.
there's a lot more to it. So be prepared for that.
And by the end of that course, you will have a detailed knowledge, right? Charles says you learn about the condos and making buildings and electrical and all kind of knowledge in those 18 months or something. That's super cool. So you feel confident, right? You can be ready to go to the work, or you can open your little tiny business and work
Yeah.
from it as well. That's cool. Thank you, Teresa and Charles.
Yeah.
The next question I have it is for Brooke. What are the most common mistakes students make when starting a vocational training, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, so Teresa and Charles kind of touched upon it being a recent graduate and current student. But as a transitions person, and I'm sure Jane sees that as well, um, understanding the commitment of a vocational training program is a common mistake people do right off the bat when they start it. Some students, they think a vocational training program might be the easier option, might be a default option or a backup to maybe CSHIP in university. And that's not true. So they're short, they're intense, they're demanding. There can be many exams, and you're really expected to learn quickly and then to apply the skills that you learn right away, right? Because you're also ideally going to be entering the workforce afterwards. So basically, you need to be ready to show up, like ready to work each day, ready to learn each day, and also ready to struggle because you will struggle. That's normal. They're preparing you for the workforce, right? And another cool thing is that you're also learning from trade professionals. So the teachers in the classrooms for vocational training are actually people like tradespeople who have worked in the industry before, who have kind of shifted towards teaching, but they know the real workforce. So they're not going to lower their expectations because they know the job's not going to lower theirs. So it's real, like real life learning. So really just understanding the commitment of a vocational training program. That's something students should definitely think about, before applying. And then also understanding the schedule. Some people come in or they apply through the Admission FP or they spoke to maybe someone in industry and they're like, okay, yeah, they apply and then they're not really knowledgeable on the schedule. Now, there are some vocational training programs that are individualized and you can kind of work at maybe a bit more so with flexibility and at your own pace. But a lot of them are full-time, 5 days a week. So again, just because the programs are short doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be any like easy weeks off or built-in days off or anything. And many students start the program and they haven't taken this into consideration. They're still wanting to work full time, or they might have a family at home to take care for. And they're like, oh, we thought of applying and, we got accepted because we had the prerequisites. So it's really important to plan ahead and kind of understand both the commitment and the scheduling of a vocational training before you dive in with both feet.
Yep. Thanks, Brooke. That's so true. Just being realistic, and you're learning so many skills in such a short time. So it's a kind of time demanding. This is the next question I'm asking. I have received 3 times in the Zoom registration process, and this question is for Jane. Can you explain the process of switching program if students realize their initial choice is not the right fit? It happens, right?
Oh, definitely it happens. And probably more so than we realize. And the first thing I say to students and even their parents is that starting a program and realizing that it wasn't quite for you, that's not time lost. It's not bad. You're still learning something. And it's money in the bank that you've had that experience and that it's not for you. Going 5-10 years down the road and then having that doubt, like, maybe I should have tried that. That's a difficult place to be in. But right now in carpentry, because carpentry is one of the programs that I oversee, in every single cohort we have university graduates, we have CEGEP graduates, and even like undergrad, so bachelor's degree and master's degree. Last year we had a PhD candidate.
Wow.
And these are just people that have gone into a point where either their family insisted that they go through the higher education path and it wasn't quite for them, or they really did want to go there. They got into whichever field and just realized it wasn't for them. They wanted to be a bit more hands-on, maybe in more control of their schedule, whatever the reasons are. But this is the reality. We have people coming in all the time. So if you are considering making that switch, just know that nothing is lost. All education is valuable. And then if you're looking at going between trades, we can always help out with that. Like Brooke was maybe we were talking about that beforehand, but we have guidance counselors in all of our schools. You can always go and chat with somebody and they're going to help you figure out, depending on what prerequisites you have, where you can head. And if you need some prerequisites to get to the next steps, there's lots of options. Even going from a DEP, so from vocation and trades to CEGEP, sometimes there's often bridge programs. So they'll help you make the transition over. CEGEP also has continuing education. So lots of opportunities to make up those prerequisites that you might be missing.
Cool. I agree what you said. All education is valuable. I have read this in a several book, and those things like a bridging program or continuing program, whatever you have learned, you can use those credits somehow. You can apply that knowledge in different environment as well. So it's super helpful always. Thanks, Jane. The next question I have is for Brooke. What should students do if they feel overwhelmed by coursework or practical training?
Thank you, AJ. So very quickly, and I mean, this goes for kind of all levels of education in a sense as well. So it would be to speak up early. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by coursework or even your practical training component, like we said, vocational training, your course can be a totality of 8 months. So it's fast paced. You're between classrooms, shops, labs, you're writing multiple exams. So you need to speak up early because, like Teresa was saying before, you can quickly fall behind, right? They're fast paced and they're short. So speak up as soon as something starts to feel difficult. Support is definitely available. Speak to your teacher, counselor, anyone else, and they can kind of guide you towards who you need to speak to. And then also using those supports available. So many vocational centers, they have strong support for, stress, anxiety, time management, even financials, work-life balance. For example, I can speak specifically for the New Frontiers School Board. Within our 3 centers, all students have access to an academic and vocational counselor, someone like Jane, a school psychologist, a social technician, and a SARCA agent, like a transitions person like myself. So that's 4 individuals plus their teachers and other staff available. So speak up early and use the supports available within your center.
That's it, yeah. And that's so true, right? We all go through, we pick up something and sometimes it's a new environment. And if you ask for help, it's always there. And the teachers are there to support you. It's very normal because at that age, you're learning lots of new things at the same time. That's so true. Thanks, Brooke. The next question I have it for Teresa is, we hear a lot about increasing anxiety among young people. What information would you share to help students develop awareness and coping strategies when you're entering a vocational education?
Well, for starters, we do have at Nova the wonderful specialist, Christine O'Connor. She's very easy to talk to. But most of all, I suggest being open with your teachers, no matter the situation, if you feel comfortable expressing it, because I'm sure they have heard crazier things. And they can help you, like, guide you to in the right direction. But I do think a lot of people have anxiety when it comes to school because they're putting too much pressure on themselves. I think personally it comes down to asking the questions. And I always think you should always ask the question and ask it again until it sticks. I think from experience and witnessing other people that it makes them feel less if they're not catching on as quickly as the others. So just keep asking that question because I'm sure that there's other people in the class that are actually thinking the same question and they don't want to speak up for themselves. So don't worry about that. Always ask the question. I think what's important too is to just be yourself, but to be always self-aware enough to know your weaker points and how to turn them into a strength. Because as hard as it can get sometimes, just don't give up and just keep going with that because the outcome, it's really great. It's really beneficial. And I think just be yourself and have faith in yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes we think we are the only one who is going through, but there are more than one people are going through that one. In the vocational, you have a lots of opportunity of making real connection with your teacher. Sometimes you see them in hands-on in a workshop or in a stage or something, and you can just share with them, and they are there to support you. Thanks, Teresa.
You're welcome.
The next question I have it for Teresa, and maybe Charles can add on to it is, what made you choose vocational education instead of going to CJEP, and when did you realize this is for me?
So for me, I already kind of knew which direction I wanted to go in. Because I knew already that I wanted to work in a school setting. I just needed to take the secretarial studies to, turn my weakness into a strength, which was learning all the softwares, because I was really not up to date with that. I wasn't good with that. But also having that job security and that set schedule was very important to me, and actually working in an environment that I care about. Um, I chose the vocational education not only for knowing where I needed to go to learn the tools that I needed to succeed, but also knowing that the environment for me at Nova was probably where I realized it the most. It was very like it was a community. It was definitely a community feeling that just opened my mind to say that I no longer want to be a student. I wanted to be a part of the team. So I I just knew where I want to be and where to go to get that knowledge.
Yeah, that's true, Teresa. Job scheduling, like a set schedule and job security, it's very important, and you feel that I'm ready. That's good to go and just learn those skills and get into the market. Charles, would you like to add anything to it?
Yeah, sure, AJ. It's a great question, and what made me choose vocational rather than CJEP. When I realized this was for me, I would say it would be towards the end of high school. The high school experience for me, I wasn't very present. I had a hard time. I couldn't sit still. I treated it, more of a social event than a learning experience. So much so to the point that, I didn't even finish. And then I went into adult ed, and it was kind of like a cycle repeat. And then I came to know about the GDT exam. I took that and transitioned into vocational, and ever since it has been a complete 180. Hands-on learning that's what works best for me. The fact that I can build something, take a step back, and be like, wow, I built that. The sense of accomplishment, it's astonishing. I've always been drawn to the fact that the work in the trades, it's AI proof as well. AI isn't going to be coming for my job anytime soon.
Yep, that's so true. Those field AI cannot touch it, and I agree. Being a teacher in high school, you don't have to fit in. Sometimes math or science or history or art is not for everybody. Doing what you love, it's very important for long term, and realizing that at very early age, like Charles and Therese, you are super young, and knowing that what you want, that's so good. You know what you want. You have a job security, you have a job, and you're ready to go to work. That's super good at this young age. That's a really good choice. Thanks, Charles. The next question I have it for Charles again is, are there any resources or services that would help you succeed in vocational training?
Yeah, whatever resources you need, they're there. Whether it be the student services through the school, various counselors, financial services, which a lot of the people take advantage of those. It gives you an opportunity to not work full time while you're doing your school, and that helps you stay focused. It prevents you from burning out. Another great resource for me would be through networking, talking with professionals in the industry, the teachers, the graduates. They can tell you, what to expect and point you in the right direction.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Charles. The next question I have received that multiple time as well during the Zoom registration is, and this is for Jane, how does an IEP follow a student from high school into vocational training, and what supports are available in vocational program?
Oh, that's a very good one. Because in our situation, an IEP or an individualized education plan does not automatically follow the student. So students have to advocate for themselves and kind of step in and let us know. Now, we do make some accommodations, but ultimately we want to be sure that the student is able to complete the work in a timely manner so that when they get out into the work field, that they're working just as well as everybody else. We run something in our schools called an orientation week. So that helps the students get oriented in all sorts of different aspects, but it also gives us an opportunity to observe the students. So if we notice that, maybe a student might be struggling with it could be anything, the reading, the math, social skills, anything at all. That gives us our little flag, and we can step in immediately and start to provide some support for that student. We know that it's not always the first thing you want to do is walk in. When you come to vocational, when you come to trades, it's kind of like a new start. It's not high school. You're often there without really knowing anybody else. It's your fresh start, and you don't want to show up on day one and say, "Hi, I'm Jane, and I have an IEP," and all of that. But it doesn't matter, because whether you have an IEP or not, if we see that there's somewhere where we can give you some extra support, we absolutely do that. So we've mentioned a few times the support that we have in our schools. So with the counselors, with guidance, all of that. We also have a nurse. We have a direct line to the CLSC and a direct line to Air Ouverte as well. But aside from all of those, our staff, like our teachers, are scheduled in a way that they are able to provide extra support to our students, right hands-on. Because if a student's having trouble, for example, with measuring something or calculating the angles of a roof, I'm not the one that they want helping them. So we really work with all of our different strengths and come together to provide the best support that we can for them. But we really push for students to advocate for themselves and to be accountable for what they need.
I like that idea. Orientation weeks, we are really seeing the students, how they are behaving or observing them. And sometimes, and I agree, sometimes students don't want to go on first day and I know introduce themselves as IEP students. So it gives them ideas, and it gives the teachers get to know a student better as well in that orientation week. It's really a good idea. Yep. Thank you, Jane. The next question I have is for Teresa. What helped you stay motivated during the demanding or practical component of the program?
There were quite a few things that kept me motivated. The purpose of why I was taking the program was my long-game goal, of course. Also knowing that administrative assistants and accountants are in demand across all sectors is also really comforting to know for when you finish the course that you'll pretty much find a job immediately.
I'm getting some disturbance. Sorry, is that 1 second? Okay, no, it's
Right.
better now. Sorry.
Teresa, I don't know if you're touching your microphone by accident or something. We're just hearing some static.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, please. Sorry to disturb you. Go ahead, please, Teresa.
Did you hear any of it?
Just a little bit. If you can repeat, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, so there were quite a few things that kept me motivated. The purpose of why I was taking the course was my long game goal, of course. Also knowing that administrative assistants and accountants are in demand across all sectors. So that was really comforting to know for when I was done the course that I could pretty much find a job immediately. A big thing you learn while taking the secretarial studies is that you become someone who is constantly helping others and interacting with people like all the time. And I really enjoy doing that. Another big motivational factor was networking within the industry. I was networking so much to the point where I knew that some students wasn't sure if I was a student or a staff member, and that was fine by me. I love that. That's exactly what I wanted people to think, kind of, because that's where I wanted to end up. I thought that was really funny. I had worked really closely with Miss Mary Lou Trahan Thomasin and Mr. James Trepanier, the assistant director and the center director, who allowed me to be involved with many school activities and councils, which I'm truly grateful for. They really saw my potential and they supported that, and they helped me thrive to where I am now. So that was really motivating to have somebody, just back you up and keep pushing you in the right direction.
Yep. Yeah. And something you already have it, right? If you have strong communication skills or you love working with the people, you can see that those jobs are like they're in super demand. No matter where you go, they always need those people with those skills. It's easy to get job, and it's easy to get settled down pretty fast. Thanks, Teresa. The next question I have is for Brooke. What strategies help students balance training, work, and personal life effectively?
Yeah, great question, AJ. So again, besides for what I had kind of touched upon earlier, make sure you use your supports, whether that's your family or friends, but also the supports in the center. One of the main ones would be time management, whether it's using a planner or a calendar. And I know it might not be everybody's strong suit. Jane spoke to our orientation process, which I'm sure other school boards and Santa Service Scolaire also have. And Charles can maybe speak to it, or like, okay, well, these are the ped days. So people take out their phone and they go to like click a picture of it. And it's like, no, we're going to teach you how to actually put it in your calendar. And so that it pops up and reminds you, because we know the picture will get lost and you're going to waste your time and show up on a ped day. So just little things like that. And the time management component is something that can be taught through the vocational training as well, and with the support in the center. So time management's a really big one. Building routines. Like we said, they're short and they're fast-paced training opportunities. So, regular sleep, regular study time. Some programs might require more studying than others. It will just, when you build that routine, it's going to help with the time management. It's going to help with your studying. If you have lots of friends who are maybe taking the CGIP route, and maybe they don't have full schedules, you might not be able to go out to the CGIP parties with them. You might not have the Fridays off like they do. But that's okay because you've done like an 8 to 12 month commitment. So just build your routine around that, and don't necessarily try and fit your routine in with others and those who are not doing vocational training either. Setting realistic expectations as well. So like we had spoke about before, understanding the scheduling and understanding the commitment, and then setting realistic expectations around that. So maybe don't come do a vocational training if you have a full-time job somewhere and something like that. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure in that sense. So it's okay to work part-time, and a lot of the students do, but you have to be honest with how many hours you're able to put into your education and how many hours you can put into your work life, to your family life, to your friends. And last but not least, which is for everything, is communication is key. So again, speak up quickly, speak to the people you feel comfortable with, because they will be able to orient you into the right to the right hands. So that's those are the few things I would suggest.
That's it. Right? So it's a bit of change from high school. It's good to have a little routine and just habits at the beginning. And once you're set, then before the course is already over and you are all ready to go. It's good to just a discipline it a little bit at the beginning. Thanks, Brooke. The next question I have received several times as well is, what job opportunities and career advancement are there after completing a vocational program? What is the workforce like, and salary ranges?
Oh, AJ, the money.
I'm telling
We
you,
always
right?
want to know about the money.
Yes.
So what I can do is give kind of a broad idea, just kind of give a quick picture of the money parts. But it's really important to consider that these are all ranges. And in a lot of these, the sky's the limit when it comes to doing extra specialization, overtime, time and a half. There's a lot of opportunities out there. So our situation here in Quebec, which is pretty much across Canada, as well as our neighbors to the south, there's more retirements, populations going up. So the demand for trades and vocational education just keeps on going up. And like Charles had mentioned before, AI can't replace these students. They can't replace these careers. So in terms of like trades, and if I'm looking at kind of construction, electrical, plumbing, these students typically start off around the early 20s, $24 or so, but very quickly they can be looking upwards of $28, $30 an hour. And an average mid-range for them, can be found anywhere between $30 to $45 an hour. The higher levels can start to hit around like $50 to $100 an hour. So there's lots of things to consider. There's specializations, where they are working, Lots of carpentry students and other specialized students will decide to go up north, do the 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and make a substantial amount of money. There's lots of those type of things to consider with where your comfort zone is, what kind of adventures you like to get into. And it's very important to consider as well that many of these positions have pensions. They have insurance for the individual and their family, and benefits and paid holidays. So you look at the hourly rate and then look at all of that on top of it, and it's really something to consider. In terms of the career advancement, again, the sky's the limit. As much as you want to go and you can learn things by adding on more certificates, specialized training, and even just going to different areas to work all makes you more valuable. And on top of it, if you want to add DEPs on top of DEPs, that's always, always well received.
This is the experience I have it living in Quebec City. Last year, I was doing a renovation and looking for some construction work or electrical and plumbing. It's the first thing I see, it's so much waiting out there and so much shortage of people with the skills. And I agree, it's not easy for AI to replace this kind of thing. And with the vocational, many of the vocational program, you can work for somebody and you have an opportunity to open your own business too. So that's super good for somebody who has entrepreneurial skills that they want to do for work for something else, work for themselves. It's possible as well. So that's super good. Thanks, Jane. Next question I have it for Teresa is, can you explain your experience with school life and extracurricular activities in a vocational training center?
Yeah, so being community driven, I had joined the governing board, and yes, students can join the governing board. At one of the meetings, I had asked about a student council, if they had one. They said no. So about a week later, we had a student council. We had a small council of a few students and staff members, including Miss Mary Lou, who would brainstorm ideas together as a team and bring it up to the board office for approval. We had come up with a fresh corner, which was a box located in each bathroom with small travel size personal hygienic products for people to take at their discretion. We got all those products donated from local stores in Chateauguay. We had a clothing vault for people to exchange, take, or donate clothing within our school community. And we had also teamed up with the auto mechanics department to host a student car wash fundraiser.
Wow.
And we had our SIS program join us so that they can sell their snacks and lemonade because we knew it was going to be a really hot day. And we thought, why not just get everybody involved? But on a regular basis, we dedicated a lot of time to making the center to really feel like a community. And you can tell that people were just having fun. We started putting up notes of just positive affirmations around the school. We had like we transformed a bulletin board just to make it more colorful for the auto department. We did like little signages for staff members as well. We had to show appreciation back to them as well. They're a part of the community. And after all of that, to my surprise, I was lucky enough to receive an award from the MWCN called the Community Spirit Award, which is given to students who show dedication, leadership, and a deep sense of inclusivity. And I did that just, to have fun at school and just to switch up school life from, work hard, play hard. But I think I don't think I really expected that award, to be honest. And it made me want to keep going. It just to know that people are, recognizing the changes that are being made, which honestly for me, watching everybody come together, it sounds a little cheesy, but it was really nice to see it actually happen, especially because in when I was there for hairdressing, it wasn't really like that. And I find with the adult ed or vocational, it seems a little bit more serious, and you have to you have to lighten things up a bit, you know. I know we're
Yeah.
all adults, but we can still have some fun.
Yes, I agree. Teresa, I feel exactly the same. When I was in university and I changed the university, and suddenly I had the opportunity to grow as a leader. Sometimes the people you are in between, they would motivate you or you see and learn from there. And having fun and learning the skill at the same time, it's super good. Doesn't make like you're learning, but you are slowly gaining all these things. And when you have awards or some kind of those things, if you put that on CV, it looks super good as well. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your experience.
You're
Next
welcome.
question I have it for Charles is how has being in vocational program changed your confidence or sense of independence? I see that you're confident. As soon as you walk in, I saw it, Charles.
Great question, AJ. Having been someone in high school who had academic potential, I just wasn't super interested in taking advantage of that potential. Um, like I said, it wasn't a great experience. Same with adult ed, but the transition into vocational, I'm excelling now. In high school, the bar for my confidence wasn't very high, in terms of which direction I would be going in. But now I can't say the same. I used to skip a lot of school. Now my attendance is practically perfect. When I wake up in the morning, I drive an hour out to Ormstown and I'm excited to do it every single day. Um, another thing that'll boost my confidence is having the teachers there as mentors. I ask questions. I work with my peers, solid group of guys, and they know some things I don't, and vice versa, and we work together, and we get the job done, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree. Waking up and happy and loving what you do, it makes a whole difference. And it's just switching the group. If I don't like art and if I'm surrounded by lots of artistic people, I would not have an opportunity to shine myself, right? But suddenly you come to the workshop, everybody is just in same gang, and you say, "Hey, this is what I'm good at, and I love actually doing these things." It makes a whole big difference for sure. Thanks, Charles. And seriously, you speak like an entrepreneur now. You're very young, but you speak like an entrepreneur. Thank you. The another question for you is, what advice would you give a student who are unsure about whether they want to pursue a vocational education or CJ?
Yeah, so I saw that question pop up in the chat below, and the best advice I can give is it's a short program. Like Brooks said, it can range from 8 months to 18 months. You have a fast entry to work after. Um, but if you can do the trade, you might decide it's not for you. I still might want to pursue a CJET program. You still have those skills for life. You if you do decide to pursue in that program, you get your diploma, you have your skills, and then you specialize in what you love doing. And all of which are high demand trades, and like mentioned before, the job security is there.
Yeah, job security is there for sure. At here, those occupations are in high demand. Yeah, thanks, Charles. One question for everybody, or maybe just Charles can add to it. If you could describe why trade matter in one sentence, or why do you say this is important that you should do?
So, AJ, the trades they matter, because the best way I can put it is, without carpenters, you don't have a house. Without electricians, you don't have power. The list goes on. We need tradespeople to build a community.
Yeah, that's it. Uh, all the questions are ended. Daniel, do we have any interesting question that we should ask?
I think Brooke has been looking at the chat. Is there anything you can see, Brooke, that we missed in the chat?
Not so much. Yeah, I was trying to filter some through. So, some just asked again, what if I really have no idea? Student for a day, do your center visits, do a little bit of research. I see a lot of people are looking for like when we say the one-stop shop for InfoRoute or Mission FP, it is all there. You just have to kind of learn how to navigate it. So again, AJ will be sharing that with you guys, but you can refine, like I said, you can do just your local school board or centre service scolaire. You can refine by language. So yes, you will see a lot that seem to be in French, but there are some offered in English. There's lots offered in English. You can refine your search actually for just offered in English, offered in French. You can refine it by sector, by region, and you can even add other specifics too. So just try and take some time and actually look through the website. But I saw a few questions in regards to just maneuvering both in Mission FP and InfoRoute. Maybe we can eventually do a how-to video as well, but that could maybe be down the line. That's
And
about
Brooke,
all I can see.
I can add a little bit to that too. I'm
Yep.
actually starting to teach students how to use ChatGPT to help out with their searches. Now you can't use it as the be all end all, but if you want to use it as a tool to help discover different things that you may have not even heard about, the important things are to put in that you are a Quebec student and then go from there. But it works. It works really well.
All the Zoom link that we shared during this presentation, we will send you with the video recording, and all the Zoom link, we will send it to you tomorrow by email. So you'll have all of those. Could you please take a minute to complete the surveys? There are only 3 questions. It helps us design the PD better next time. Anything else you would like to add before we say goodbye? If you can take a couple of minutes just to complete the feedback survey, that would be great, guys. That would help me. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you all.
Thank you all for taking the time to listen.